Alright, welcome back guys, Protobro here, infamous brother to Mega Bro. We are in October 63, and I just wanted to highlight a few things here before I simulate the turn. Not a whole lot going on this turn, at least from my end, but there were some things I wanted to highlight just so you were maintaining some sort of continuity regarding the playthrough. Now, over here, we do have the army under Polk, right? We're holding this down, 2 core, and then he's got, troops in here. We're good here, but here's what I'm concerned about. Under Buell, he has apparently Sheridan's core of 969 power, and it looks like he's going to go around me and flank me, which is concerning. Not a whole lot I can do about it. I mean, St. Louis is far more important to me than up here, which is what, Bloomington and Springfield. Obviously, I don't want to lose Springfield because it's I think having Springfield prohibits Illinois from recruiting troops, since I also have the rest of Illinois mostly. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold pat. If he crosses, then I've got about 600 power here. Plus, I'm bringing Morgan up to kind of start harassing his supply if he crosses. He's also got the 374 here too, and then I can probably shift a few more troops up if needed, but it's possible I might lose this area, which again, it's not the end of the world because I really took all this with the intent of just, forcing him to fight just to take back his own territory, let alone taking the south. So we'll see what happens here. Not a whole lot I can do just yet, but St. Louis is my big big prize here. That's what I'm going to protect. So I'm not going to shift troops to deal with that. Reinforcement pool, pretty much putting everything into infantry. I want to build up my reinforcement pool so that if we have a couple big battles, I can replace my losses pretty quickly. So I'm not building too much up here, even though obviously I'd want to. I want to deal with my replacement pool first so that if I lose all the troops, I can replace that pretty quickly. Again, just kind of holding pat over here. He's got some supply issues for this stack here since he doesn't even have military control of this area. So he's going to have to deal with that. It is October, so the weather's going to start setting in here pretty soon. So this is going to be my defensive line for the winter, defensive line here for the winter, and so forth. Over in Virginia here, right quick before we simulate the turn. Again, because of the weather, he actually got pretty lucky. If this was early spring, I would actually go on the offensive and try and take DC. The reason being is that power-wise, I actually have more troops than he does. On a power basis, just face-to-face, he's got 1,100 here. He's also got Gilbert's core of 500, but actually, yeah, that includes that. So total, he's got 1,100, I got 23. I've got 31, he's got 35. So I could really kind of wheel around his left flank and do some pretty considerable damage between Jackson and Smith's corps. I think what I'm going to do is come spring of 64, I will be doing that. I will be doing kind of a wheeling action along the north here, especially if he doesn't reinforce over the winter, which it's possible. The Union has a lot of resources, so they could reinforce pretty quickly. But I may combine these 2 corps into Jackson's corps and just wheel around and try and get to take DC in 64. Part of the reason, too, is that it's an election year, and so the Union suffers some significant morale penalties for losing DC in 64. And also, I don't recall what it is, but the threshold required for the Union to lose on the morale side of things is much different in 64 than it normally is. I want to say they'd be really close to losing the game if I took DC and their morale was still around this in 64, because it would drop down to like 50 or 60 or something. So that's the plan for 64. Not a whole lot else going on. I am moving a general. I'm moving Hinman, who's got Occupier, which helps with your loyalty. I moved him down to Mobile. I didn't realize Mobile's loyalty was actually only 59%, so I want to get him down there. Loyalty does impact the productivity of a region, and Mobile does produce a fair amount of production for my country, because we are a country. And so I need to get that loyalty up a bit higher. I'm not happy with it. I don't think I have any other generals that have Occupier, unlike the Union. So I looked around, I didn't see anybody. Maybe I missed someone, but I think he's the only one. So I need to get him down there, improve that, and so forth. So with that, I did do a couple of. Let's see if I have any more of those cards, just so I can. So I don't know anymore. I used them all. I'm doing a bunch of requisition cards, which get me money at the expense of 1 VP, 1 victory point, and 10 loyalty in that region. I'm more than happy to give that up for the 35 cash. And then I did a couple of drafts, not too many. I think I did 2 because drafts are actually pretty painful. You lose 15 victory points and 10 loyalty, but you get 45 conscripts. If you recall earlier, I ran out of conscripts, so it's possible that might become an issue again. And we're so far ahead in the victory point category right now, I'm comfortable doing it. As you can see, they have 46, 37. They're getting 44 a turn. We're at 68, and we're getting what? What are we getting a turn? 60. So we're pretty far ahead. I'm banking on continued success in 64 and 65, obviously, but I don't think it's going to be too much of a hit to get those conscripts, and it may help a lot if we have some significant battles in 64. Okay, so I'm going to simulate the turn, and then I will be back. I don't think these are important. There's history stuff, and this was a submarine the Confederacy was trying to develop. Again, that's sunk. And beyond that, let's go now. I'm sending these guys back into port, get refurbished, and send them back in. So I'm going to simulate the turn. I'll be back. Alright, I jumped forward a few turns just because not a whole lot was going on. It's now early December 63. So we had Grant with about 1,000 power going from over here across the north, and then I don't know where he went. But it looks like he's kind of going to support, Ohio. But I basically moved AP Hill over to shadow him. I had him here. Grant was right here, and then he disappeared. So I'm not sure what he went. But I'm going to take this core. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it because I don't really need it on the far west right now over in the Illinois area. Basically what I'm going to do is this core is going to get incorporated into some sort of offensive somewhere over in the west in 64. Although I could even shift it over to Virginia if I really want to make a push for DC, so that's possible. But this is kind of the makeup right now of Illinois. Don't have a lot of a threat anymore going on over here. Very different than a few months ago where it looked like they being the Union were going to make a push into Illinois as well as St. Louis. I'd like to think that part of the reason they didn't was that my positioning of troops and then also the weather is the reason they didn't, but we'll see. As you can see, got a bunch of the rail line torn up, sending guys back out to tear up more of the rail line and so forth. Here's my position with Albert Sidney Johnston's army and corps, and then over here. Now we did take New Albany with Morgan, which is pretty funny. I'm just gonna leave him here. Just why not, right? Just hang out. He may attack me. That's fine. I've got him on essentially retreat if he's engaged. But I'm just gonna kind of harass him over here. I got my navy right here so that he can't go across and make a move on my rear into my supply depot at Munfordville. I also have one at Louisville. Well, actually, I don't have a supply depot at Munfordville. Interesting. Okay. I have one at Bowling Green, but not Munfordville. But it's fine because Munfordville is still very important because it connects Louisville with Bowling Green and so forth. So I'm just making it so he can't cross there. He'd have to go across this area here, tearing up the rail line in his rear on McClellan's army, where he's got not a whole lot, interestingly enough. I'm not going to make a move because of the weather, but that's tempting. If this stays this way come the spring, I'm going to push with Johnson's army. Push into the rest of Kentucky, and then push with Albert Sidney's army east Indiana. Which actually, so having Grant move east actually benefits me because I don't have to worry about my rear as much, which means I can shift AP Hill over and have him participate in some sort of offensive in the spring. So that's interesting. So that's the west. Not a lot going on in Virginia. We took this city up here with Mosby, which is fine. I'm going to raise the city and also tear up the rail line and then pull out of there. I thought I destroyed this fort, and then I didn't, so I'm back here to destroy it again. It's got some good supply and stuff, but I don't have the troops to defend all of this. And so it seems to me it makes more sense to consolidate forces either over here in this town, up here in this area, or behind the river. So I'm going to blow it up as much as I don't want to lose the supply. I wish there was a way to take the supply and shift it, but I can't. Nothing else really going on. It's pretty quiet. Here's what's going on over here. He does have me surrounded over here, which is a little concerning. But I went and got military control back with these guys, so hopefully that'll change here shortly. Get him out of that circular situation that he's in. Yeah, so that's about it over there. I don't know what happened. I think he got glitched because I did not move Beauregard over here. So I don't know why he's here. He should be back over in this area. The only thing I can think of is I did intend to move him over here and replace Polk, which I suppose is possible. Let me actually do that. And then I'm going to take Polk and then move him back over here. So that's one thing I'm going to do. I'll move him over here. And then over here in the very far west, nothing really clicking. I had to pull back. I was besieging up here just for the heck of it, but we weren't making any head ground, so I moved him back to get supply, and I'm probably going to make a move on eastern Arizona, although what's the weather like? Weather's good, so I may make a move on eastern Arizona because there's not a whole lot of troops there, and I can actually probably put together a decent sized force. I've got some horse cavalry here too, so I think I'm going to take these two guys, move them out. Move them up there. I don't have any supply wagons though, so actually it's not a good idea just yet. We're gonna hold off. I need to get supply wagons, and then maybe I can move on eastern Arizona. And then finally, war production. Got some artillery, but mostly I threw most of my money into replacement chits. So there you go. Give you a chance to look at that for a moment. We need 123 elements for line infantry. I've got about 20, 14 for elite. I got about 5, 72 for militia. I have 0, so I'm building 2. 64 for cavalry, building 2. Raider ships, I'm building 1, and then I'm building a little bit of artillery. And I think I moved my guys back in here. Yep. So there we go. Blockade. Okay, cool. And then anything else? That's right, I'm building more rail pool this turn, and the next turn I'll do river pool. And that's it. Alright, so let's simulate the turn. I don't think these battles were of import. That's right, forgot about this. Okay, so I did not realize that Sherman was over here, which actually benefits us because Sherman being down here really is a waste for the Union. But this is down in Texas where they landed in Galveston. I figured I would assault it, see what I could do. I lost a boatload of troops doing it. That was pretty dumb. We did breach the walls though, but he basically lost nothing, so it was completely worthless, and I probably lost some morale from it, but whatever. He did try to run my blockade over here. Note we do have DC blockaded, by the way, because our ships are here. He tried to run it. We kicked the crap out of him because we're awesome, and we still hold this. So I am gonna probably. Yeah, we're gonna go resupply, and then we'll go back out there again. But that was a big victory for us. But just to show you, this is where the battle occurred, and we got our butt kicked. So whatever, that's fine. All right, simulate the turn. I'll be back. Okay, so I fast forwarded through a few turns here. We're now in early January 64. This is gonna be a pivotal year, hopefully. I'm doing a lot of things to hopefully make this a pretty exciting year, which I'm going to go through here. I'll kind of back brief you on all the different things I did so that you're not totally out of the loop. But notice here we got papal recognition. I don't know if this happened because of our morale, which is 143, or what the deal is. But essentially, Pope Pius IX replied to a letter from President Davis with an autographed picture of himself. The accompanying letter was addressed to the Honorable President of the Confederate States of America, which showed that the Pope recognized that the CSA was an actual nation separated from the USA and that its president was an honorable man. Papacy is the only European state to date to recognize the CSA. Now, it's kind of interesting to do that considering we're a nation of slaves, but whatever. I suppose that's just semantics. All right, so presidential election of the U.S. Northern voters will vote next November, in other words, November 64, in their presidential election. If they choose not to endorse the leadership and policies of Lincoln for a second term, then the fate of the Confederacy is not sealed, and hope for a negotiated settlement exists. The Republican Party nominated President Lincoln as its presidential candidate and Andrew Johnson for vice president. The Democrat Party chose General McClellan for president and General Pendleton for VP. Widespread war weariness in the North can make a victory for Lincoln seem doubtful. A quick defeat on the battlefield may mean the end of the war. So one of the things in 64 is if you take DC in 64, it actually has an even bigger morale swing than it does normally. I don't know, so it's 50, but then I think it's even more impactful than that. So I forget what the numbers are, but basically we don't need 180 morale, national morale, to win if we take the capital in 64, and like basically the Union needs and basically lose the game with less, with basically a different morale threshold, so it doesn't have to be as low as it normally is if we take 64. So here's what I'm doing. I'm moving a crap ton of resources, troops, everything I can to the front here, and then in spring, we're going to move on Washington. I'm going to put 2 divisions under Lee and his Army of the Shenandoah. I'm going to beef up Hill with better generals. So as you see, I'm moving this guy out of there. I'm going to bring in a better general. So I'm going to have 3 or 4 divisions in D.H. Hill's corps. I'm going to take Smith's corps and pack him into Stonewall, and then D.H. Hill and Lee. And so I'm basically going to have 3 corps. I'm going to have Jackson, D.H. Hill, I'm going to have Longstreet, and then I'm going to have little like mini corps under Lee, and part of that's just so he'll race to the sound of the guns if it doesn't happen to be in the region that he's in. And I think what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go here and here. These 2 areas are where I'm going to move in. I'm going to leave a little bit of a force back, but not a whole lot, because I don't expect him to counterattack. He's going to be freaking out about D.C., but I'm going to have D.C. cut off here in Maryland with Stonewall. I'm going to move D.H. Hill and Lee right here in the middle, and then when they attack, which will be Lee and D.H. Hill's corps attacking, I'm going to simultaneously move in with Stonewall on D.C. At least that's the plan. We'll see how it goes. But I'm moving everything up here. I'm moving better generals over here from the east. I'm basically doing a major shift. I'm going to shift up. I'm going to bring, let's see, where is he at? I'm going to bring Hood over after I bring the general up that I am relocating, that I just got. And we're going to go from there. So I did get some new generals. So I've got Kershaw, who's got a charismatic rating. He's a 332. I'm going to move him up into Lee's corps. And I might shift stuff around a little bit, but he's going to move up to Lee's corps. Wilcox is the one I'm moving over to the east to replace Bell Hood, who I'm going to bring over to the west for the offensive. I was kind of holding this place down. I had DC actually blockaded, but he's got a fairly sizable navy coming my way, so I'm actually going to pull out of there. I only got the 1 ironclad. He's got an ironclad right here, and it looks like he's got a little bit more coming down, so I'm just going to pull back into Norfolk for the time being. As far as the west is concerned, nothing much has changed. We've got Johnson here, his army. We've got Albert Sidney Johnson. I'm actually moving back to hold the St. Louis front because I just don't see a whole lot of action happening over here, and he's my worst army general. And then I'm going to bring Beauregard, who's my one of my better army generals, over here to kind of face off against Grant. He's kind of chilling here right now. I'm not quite sure what's going on, where he intends to hit. I've got Forney here, Forrest here, then I've got AP Hill up here kind of floating off in the distance. one thing, and I'm such a dummy, I did not freaking realize this, but these training officers, so for example, Richard Taylor, he can upgrade militia to line infantry. And then I think after a time, from line infantry to full infantry. I had no idea. Stupid me. So I built a bunch of militia and I moved them up there. Great thing with militia is they train up really fast and they're cheap. So they do take from the reinforcement pool, which I'll show you here, but at least that's another way for me to get some more troops in the battlefield. I'm not building a whole lot into my production tab right now, but I am trying to build up my replacement chips as quick as possible so that in spring, when things get crazy, I can sustain casualties. I'm moving Polk down to Louisiana, down into New Orleans. Then I'm also bringing my fleet down to New Orleans because I cannot afford to lose New Orleans at all. And I think I'm okay up here for now. I do have this fleet right here that I'm actually going to move in. And I may actually take one of my ironclads and move it down to New Orleans as well, just to further ensure. Well, he's got 3 right there, so 4. So actually that should be enough. So there's my defensive line. It's this nice little, almost like fish hook, kind of like Gettysburg. Army here, 4 there in the center, army here, army there. And then over here, which I'll show you once everything's sorted out and I've got everything sorted, I'll give you a nice little rundown of all the different divisions and stuff that I'm moving in. Building a whole bunch of pack trains just to make sure that I can sustain supply while I'm surrounding DC. Over here, I've just been harassing this area. I actually used the plunder card, which got me 35,000 bucks right up here. Figured, why not? I'm not going to take it over, so I might as well do that. Burn the fort here, moving him back. I'm just kind of hanging out. That's more of a distractor, this over here, than anything. I don't really plan on doing anything of substance there. And that's about it. Texas, I got schwacked down here pretty bad. That's fine. I mean, heck, the longer that Sherman is hanging out here, I'm happy with that. So I need to rebuild this because he got beat up pretty bad. But as long as Sherman's just hanging out down there, that's great. I do not mind it at all. Just making sure here I got all my stuff moved around. Okay, so anyways, I'm going to load up over in the Eastern Front, go from there. Oh, there will be a battle over here. I'm just kind of moving in to schwack him. Nothing particular, just to harass him, and then I'll probably move back. I don't have a supply train over here, so it's a little hard for me to move out and attack anything. And I've got, what's he doing up there? Well, I didn't even know he was up there. Let's get him back, actually. Alright, so I'll get military control here. That's more just to ensure he doesn't get fully encircled. Nothing of particular import there. I've got the rear buckled down. I've got Missouri completely buckled down. It's looking good, actually. I'm pleased with how the far west is going. The west I'm a little concerned about with Grant hanging out over here. And then obviously the east will be fun. So let me generate the turn. This will be the end of this video. As always, thank you for watching. If you found it interesting, please like it. Please subscribe to the channel. It helps other people find the game, find the tutorials on our channel, and so forth. And in the next video, I will probably start off wherever there's some action. So it may not necessarily be late January. It may be Feb or March, or even spring. And if spring happens, I'll just kind of backfill you on all the different things I've built and so forth, so that you don't feel completely out of the loop. I'm sending a lot of my conscripts and stuff up here just so this guy can train him up. I would move him, but he's kind of essential right now with Grant being up here. So I want to move him back closer down here because that's awful long distance for all my troops to go to get trained up. But I'm going to have to figure that out later. But anyways, thanks for watching, guys. Appreciate it.